Z is for Zora, an alphabet book of notable writers from around the world, by Dr. Tamara Pizzoli, illustrated by Phil Howell. A is for Angelou. Born in 1928, Maya Angelou is regarded as one of the most prolific poets of modern times. The efficacy of her words in written form earned Angelou more than 50 honorary degrees. Her first autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, is one of her most popular and widely read titles. B is for Baldwin. James Baldwin, born in 1924, discovered a love for literature arts and writing early in life. While still elementary school aged, he penned both a play and the official song for his public school in Harlem. As an adult, Baldwin's writing explored themes such as religion, race, and self-identity. While in his early 20s, he expatriated to Paris, France. C is for Coelho. Paulo Coelho is a native of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He knew early on he wanted to become a writer. His childhood was marked with some serious adversity, including being committed to a mental institution, and during his early adult years, Coelho lived through a range of experiences, from a stint in law school to traveling the world as a hippie. He published his first book in 1982, and just over a decade later found international success with his acclaimed novel, The Alchemist. D is for Davis. Originally from Birmingham, Alabama, and born in 1944, Davis grew up attending segregated schools. She completed her formative education and attended Brandeis University in Massachusetts. Davis is considered not only one of the most important civil rights activists and revolutionaries in United States history, but an accomplished author, academic, and scholar as well. E is for Eugenides. His decision to become a writer occurred while he was in middle school. He attended both Brown University and Stanford. The few novels that Eugenides has published have earned him international critical acclaim, numerous translations of his words into other languages, and several awards for excellence in writing. F is for Frank. Anne Frank was born in 1929 in Germany, but her family moved to Amsterdam, Netherlands, when she was 4 years old. By 1940, Amsterdam had been occupied by German Nazis, and the Jewish population was being persecuted. Frank and her family, like many Jews at the time, were forced into hiding. During that period, Frank wrote about her life experiences in a journal she'd received as a birthday gift. It was published after her untimely death under the title, The Diary of a Young Girl. G is for Giovanni. Nikki Giovanni was born in 1943 and named after her mother, Yolanda Cornelia. Giovanni is considered today as one of the most recognized and noted African-American poets. Her writing covers social, political, and racial themes in a variety of mediums, including books for adults, children's literature, and television programming. Giovanni's poems span over half a century and have been published in anthologies. She was even nominated for a Grammy in 2004 for Best Spoken Word Album. H is for Hughes. Langston Hughes was a native of Joplin, Missouri, and was born in 1902. Raised primarily by his grandmother in Kansas, he found a love for books and expansive language early in life, and was elected class poet in grade school. As an adult, Hughes became a noted activist, poet, and playwright. I is for Ishiguro. Though he was born in Japan, Kazuo Ishiguro's family relocated to England when he was a small child. He began his formal studies there and focused on writing development during his university studies. Ishiguro has made a career as a successful novelist, even receiving the Swedish Academy's Nobel Prize in Literature. J is for Jumpa. Jhumpa Lahiri goes by the nickname Jhumpa. Born in London in 1967, Jhumpa's family moved to the US when she was 2. In college, she studied English, and her professional writing as a novelist has earned her numerous literary awards, including the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. Kaur. Rupi Kaur was born in India in 1992 and moved to Canada at the age of 4. Kaur was drawn to poetry as a child, as well as drawing and painting. Her poetry is often accompanied by her own illustrations. Kaur's prose compiled in books have sold over 2 million copies, and her first book, Milk and Honey, was a staple on the New York Times bestseller list. L is for Lewis. C.S. Lewis was born in 1898 in Ireland. As a child, he was an avid reader, and as he grew into an older boy, he took an interest in mythology and Greek literature. As a professional writer, Lewis was heavily influenced by his Christian faith. One of his most popular contributions to the world of fiction is the widely adapted book, The Chronicles of Narnia. M is for Morrison. Toni Morrison, who was born with the name Chloe, entered the world in the year of 1931. As a child, her parents retold African American tales and songs to her, and Morrison developed a love for reading early. The nickname Toni came about during her adolescence. As an adult, she focused on writing fiction stories. Her first book, The Bluest Eye, was published in 1970. She's penned more than a dozen novels, several children's books with her son, as well as a pair of plays. Her seminal work over the years has earned numerous prestigious awards, including the Nobel Prize for Literature. N is for Nishimura. Kyotaro Nishimura was born in Tokyo, Japan in 1930. He is most widely known in Japan as an award-winning writer of mysteries, both in novels and short stories. Some of his writing pieces have been translated and published in English. O is for Ozeki. Ruth Ozeki was born in 1956 and grew up in New Haven, Connecticut. She began her creative career in film and production in the mid-'80s, but by the late 90s had transitioned into writing novels. Her published work is award-winning and has been translated into over 24 languages. P is for Patel. Shelja Patel was born in Kenya. She was raised in Nairobi and attended college in England before moving on to the United States. Patel's most widely read work is entitled Migratude, and with her words, she explores concepts such as women's rights and issues, cultural issues, and colonialism. Q is for Quiñones. Ernesto Quiñones was born in Cuba in 1970. His first book, Bodega Dreams, was published in 2000. Chango's Fire, his second novel, was published 4 years later. Quiñones has also made notable contributions to journalism, and he serves as a professor of English at Cornell University. R is for Rowling. J.K. Rowling's first name is Joanne, and she was born in England in 1965. She is a novelist, television producer, and screenwriter who has written under the pen names J.K. Rowling as well as Robert Galbraith. Rowling's books have won several awards and are internationally loved and recognized, particularly the Harry Potter series, which propelled her from a period of living in near poverty to becoming the first author in the world to reach billionaire status. S is for Sanchez. Sonia Sanchez was born in Birmingham, Alabama in 1934. As a result of several unfortunate family events, she developed a strong stutter as a young child, but found refuge in books and literature arts. Her love for reading and writing led her to a professional career as both a poet and a professor. She has written numerous award-winning books of poetry and has been a professor at several universities. Recurring themes in Sanchez's work include the bond between mother and child and the African American experience, and she is a staple in the discussion of civil rights and activism. T is for Twain. Samuel Langhorne Clemens wrote and was published under the pen name Mark Twain. Born in 1835, Twain's published work eventually became literarily synonymous with examples of the height of excellence in American writing with novels such as The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. U is for Upadhyay. Harilal Upadhyay was born in India in 1916. He began writing early in life and had his first short story published in a magazine when he was only 15. After following an uncle who was a professional storyteller and collecting varied stories and songs from him, as well as learning the art of presentation, Upadhyay began to write poems and short stories and a novel. Upadhyay began to write poems and short stories and novels in his adulthood. He penned over 100 books. V is for Verne. Jules Verne was born in 1828 in France. He was sent to boarding school at age 6, and Verne was captivated by the stories that his teacher at the school would tell the class. By his teenage years, he was quite serious about writing long prose, including essays and poetry. Though he had a law degree and at one point had the opportunity to take over his father's law practice, Verne earned prestige as a novelist and playwright with such classics as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Around the World in 80 Days. W is for Walker. Alice Walker was born in Georgia in 1944 to a family of sharecroppers. After an accident involving a sibling left her blind in one eye, Walker immersed herself in the literary arts. She attended Spelman College and then Sarah Lawrence College. In addition to writing novels, essays, and poetry, Walker was and continues to be outspoken on civil and women's rights. Her novel, The Color Purple, led to her being awarded the National Book Award as well as the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. She is also credited with coining the term womanist. X is for Xinran. Shui Xinran was born in China in 1958 and uses just her last name as a pen name. She was raised by her grandparents and moved to London in the late 90s. She is credited with spearheading seminal work and writing dealing with women's issues, particularly in China. Her very first book, The Good Women of China, was featured on bestseller lists internationally. Y is for Yates. William Butler Yeats was born in Ireland in 1865. Later, his entire family relocated to England, and Yates struggled academically in certain areas in school, thrived in others. His first serious attempt at writing occurred in his late teenage years, and by his adulthood, Yates joined private clubs of poets who would meet to recite their prose. As one of the co-founders of the Abbey Theatre, Yates is widely considered to be one of the most important contributors to literature in the 20th century. Z is for Zora. Zora Neale Hurston was born in 1891 in Alabama. Hurston's family relocated to Florida when she was just 3. The Deep South and the plight and truths of people of the African diaspora were recurrent themes in her writing, which included short stories and essays, as well as plays. Her most widely read work was a novel published in 1937 entitled Their Eyes Were Watching God. Copyright 2021 by Dr. Tamara Pizzoli.